northwest, north central, or even south, 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 east, and southwest of Nigeria. We'd like to appreciate you and welcome you to this 162nd edition of NDLA's Open Forum on X Space this Friday, the 14th of November 2025. It's also a pleasure to welcome all our compatriots joining us from other parts of Africa and Europe, America, Asia, and the Middle East. Like I said, this is the 162nd edition of NDLA's Open Forum. Right here on X Space, we are live from the national headquarters of Nigeria's premier anti-narcotics agency, the NDLA, located in Jahis district of the Federal Capital Territory. This is a platform where we share information, knowledge, and raise awareness, sensitization about substance abuse and its devastating impact on human lives, public health, and indeed the environment. This platform also serves as a channel for us to provide help to those struggling with substance abuse, especially those who need treatment. It's equally a means for us to update you about some of the key activities of the agency, especially what we're doing to curb the scourge of substance abuse and illicit drug trafficking, as well as getting your feedback so that we can continue to serve you and our society and indeed humanity better. It's also important for us to let you know that this conversation is recorded and is streamed live on our other social media handles, especially at NDLA01 on Facebook and at NDLA TV on YouTube. You can always go back and take a listen to the recording and even share with others. Yeah, before I invite our guest to make his presentation, I believe I have seen our guest already. Okay, I think I've seen him joining through the handle of Samed Hospital Limited. Okay, I'll be introducing him formally shortly as soon as he moves over to the speaker's corner. We will be introducing him. But before we get to introduce him, let's take let's update you about some of the activities of the agency this past week, which comes in our news highlights segment, which will be taken by Netta and Peace. Ladies, please let's have the updates for this week. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good day to everyone, and thank you for joining us on this week's X Space. My name is Natalie Dozier. I'm here at the NDLEA News Highlights for the week. First, the headlines. Saudi-bound wanted drug lord arrested as NDLEA raids his clandestine Colors lab in Lagos. Dismantles laboratory, recovers 148.3 kilograms Colorado, precursors. Nab 73-year-old grandpa, 70-year-old grandma in Edo, Bayelsa. A wanted drug lord, 40-year-old Yusuf Ayobami Aziz, has been arrested by operatives of a Special Operations Unit of National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, MMIA, Ikeja, Lagos, while on his way to Saudi Arabia for Umrah, a holy pilgrimage, after a month of intelligence and surveillance on him and his criminal drug activities. The drug kingpin had been arrested and charged for drug offenses in the United Kingdom, but jumps bail and escaped to Nigeria. Soon after settling down in Lagos, he set up a massive clandestine laboratory in the Lekki area of the state for the production of Colorado, a deadly synthetic cannabis and other illicit substances. At about 6:30 a.m. on Thursday, 6 November 2025, Yusuf walked into the waiting hands of NDLEA operatives at the Lagos airport while attempting to board his flight to Saudi Arabia for Umrah. He was swiftly driven to his number 17 Vincent Eku Street, Ogombo, Lekki clandestine laboratory, which has been under surveillance for a while. At the time of his arrest, Yusuf was found in company of another suspect, 43-year-old Abidin Kekere Ekun. Inside the massive building, Operatives from the agency's Directorate of Forensic and Chemical Monitoring were able to dismantle all installed laboratory equipment, precursor chemicals, and already produced illicit substances, including Colorado, all weighing 148.3 kilograms. At the Cyfax bonded terminal in Okota, Lagos, NDLEA operatives in conjunction with men of the Nigerian Customs Service and other security agencies on Friday, 7th November, discovered 105.5 kilograms of Molly, a designer's drug, and 500 grams of methamphetamine during a joint examination of a shipment. In Niger State, NDLEA operatives on Thursday, 6 November, intercepted Ibrahim Mohammed in a Volvo truck marked GRZ 872XA along Kainji-Wawa Road, while conveying 87,000 pills of tramadol and 72 kilograms of skunk, a strain of cannabis. No less than 34,520 capsules of tramadol were found concealed in different compartments of a Toyota Corolla car marked GAN 102AR, intercepted along Zaki Biam Hukari Road on Monday, 3rd November, while the driver, Aliyu Samaria, was arrested. The opioids were loaded from Onitsha, Anambra State, and heading to Cameroon. In another operation in Taraba, NDLEA officers on Thursday, 6 November, arrested a suspect, Felix Tanko Chinedu, with 15,020 capsules of tramadol at Kasua Bera ATC in Ardokola local government area. In Kogi State, NDLEA operatives on patrol along Okene-Lokoja Highway on Wednesday, 5th November, intercepted the consignment of 7.600 kilograms loud, a strong strain of cannabis. A follow-up operation in Abuja led to the arrest of the owner, Chukwunonso Anieze, while no fewer than 175,000 pills of opioids were recovered from another consignment at the location same day. 3 suspects, Olaide Oyederan, Abdul Salam, and Opeyemi Tijani, were on Wednesday, 5th November, nabbed at Abuja Kaduna toll gate with 769 kilograms skunk being conveyed in a truck marked TRE 897BE, coming from Lagos en route Owo, Ondo States, and heading to Kano. A 73-year-old grandpa, James Ubedo, was on Friday, 7th November, arrested in a cannabis plantation at Igbeshi Forest in Akebo, Etsako East Local Government Area, Edo State, where 1,459.75 kilograms skunk was destroyed and 5.6 kilograms of same substance evacuated, while 70-year-old grandma, Mrs. Comfort Odudu, was nabbed at Onopa, Yamagwa, Bayelsa State, with 5 kilograms skunk on Tuesday, 4th November. While commending the officers and men of Special Operations Unit, Directorate of Forensic and Chemical Monitoring, Tinkan, Edo, Taraba, Kaduna, Kogi, Niger, and Bayelsa commands for the various successful operations, Chairman, Chief Executive Officer of NDLEA, Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa, retired, enjoined them and their colleagues across the country to continue with the ongoing balanced approach to the drug control efforts of the agency. The dismantling of yet another clandestine laboratory for the production of Colorado and other dangerous synthetic substances, and the arrest of the kingpin behind it in Lekki, coming barely a week after similar actions were taken against another cartel in Ajao Estate, Lagos, shows that these are no doubt the first in the series of what will be many strikes against merchants of debt who prey on the weak in our communities. Let it be known to those still hiding in the dark that the NDLEA, supported by our local and international law enforcement partners, will continue to hunt them and bring them to justice, Marwa added. That's it on arrest and seizures. Next is the update on some of the weather activities across the country for the week, brought to you by my colleague, Peace. Thank you, Netta. My name is Peace, the pastor, and here are some of the WADA activities across the country for the week. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, is redefining Nigeria's response to substance abuse through its groundbreaking War Against Drug Abuse WADA initiative. What began as a modest awareness drive has evolved into a vibrant national movement that unites government agencies, civil society groups, families, and individuals in confronting one of the nation's most urgent social challenges. Moving beyond traditional enforcement methods, WADA focuses on prevention, rehabilitation, and collective responsibility, reinforcing the message that the fight against drug abuse is a shared duty. By extending its message from schools to markets and from motor parks to places of worship, WADA is turning awareness into action, replacing fear with understanding, ignorance with knowledge, and stigma with compassion. This inclusive, people-centered approach empowers citizens to embrace healthy, drug-free lifestyles and to work together for a safer Nigeria. Through the NDLEA's WADA initiative, health, hope, and empathy continue to triumph over addiction and stigma. In this regard, on Monday, November 3rd, 2025, the Kano State Strategic Command of NDLEA conducted a WADA Enlightenment Lecture for students and staff of International Academy, Nasarawa Local Government Area. The session focused on the dangers of substance abuse and its adverse impact on education, discipline, and moral values. Officers encouraged students to stay committed to their academic pursuits, uphold integrity, and make positive lifestyle choices that foster personal growth with societal progress. On Tuesday, November 4th, the Benue State Command sustained the agency's preventive education drive with a WADA sensitization lecture for students and staff of King's College, Katinala. The interactive session enlightened participants on the health, social, and psychological risks of drug abuse while emphasizing the importance of discipline, focus, and positive peer influence in shaping a productive and drug-free future. Similarly, the Enugu State Command delivered a WADA sensitization lecture to students and staff of Bethesda College in Enugu. The lecture highlighted the far-reaching consequences of substance misuse and encouraged learners to develop resilience, self-discipline, and a strong moral compass as tools for academic and personal success. The Ebonyi State Command of NDLEA also made a strong impact by organizing a WADA Enlightenment Lecture for students and staff of Transfiguration Seminary Secondary School, Abakaliki. The interactive session enlightened participants on the dangers of drug dependence and its negative implications for health and character, while urging them to serve as advocates of the WADA campaign within their communities. On Wednesday, November 5th, the Anambra State Command of NDLEA, in collaboration with the National Youth Service Corps Drug Free Club, delivered a WADA sensitization lecture to students and staff of Susu College, Umpo. The session stressed the importance of self-control, healthy choices, and academic focus as essential factors in preventing substance abuse and building a brighter future. Expanding its advocacy reach, the Zone 2 Command of NDLEA took the WADA sensitization campaign to Government Day Secondary School, Namtari, Yola South Local Government Area, Adamawa State. Officers engaged students and staff in discussions on the physical and mental dangers of drug abuse and encouraged them to embrace discipline, moral integrity, and community responsibility. On Thursday, November 6th, the Niger State Command conducted a WADA advocacy lecture for students and staff of Day Secondary School, Sabon Kasua, Kotangora. The outreach emphasized the harmful consequences of substance abuse, promoting awareness of the value of healthy living and responsible decision-making among youth. On Friday, November 7th, the Sokoto State Command delivered a WADA enlightenment lecture for students and staff of Government Girls Secondary School, Ilela. The session underscored the dangers of drug use, urging participants to maintain focus,
discipline, and a strong sense of self-worth in pursuit of excellence. In like manner, the Kebbi State Command of NDLEA organized a WADA advocacy lecture for members of the National Union Road Transport Workers in Kebbi. The interactive forum sensitized participants on the dangers of drug-impaired driving and the importance of promoting safety and sobriety in transportation operations. The Zone 9 committee lectures and staff of Emmanuel College High School, Senior, Ibadan, Oyo State. The session educated on the negative effects of drug abuse on health, education, and social behavior, while encouraging them to embrace self-discipline and become ambassadors of the WADA message within their schools and communities. That's the update for this week. My name is Peace, and I hand you over to our host, Mr. Femi Babafemi.
All right, thank you very much, dear Peace and Netta. Welcome back from the news and segment. Now let's remind ourselves about some of the rules regarding our engagement on this platform today. Please note that when you are approved to be on the speaker's corner, you are supposed to remain muted until after the presentation by our guest speaker, who is already well seated right on this platform with us. After that, then we would be inviting individuals who have requested for the mic, who have been approved to be on the speaker's corner, one after the other, to make their contributions or ask their questions. We always appreciate how we do it every week in this orderly manner so that we can understand and enjoy the entire conversation. Thank you for always. Okay, quickly, let's tell you about the NDLEA's call center. That's a platform where we have experts ranging from counselors, clinical psychologists, psychotherapists, and psychiatric doctors working 24/7 to provide support and teletherapy to those who may be in need of support, psychosocial support, and who probably don't know how to go about it, or who, for fear of being judged or being stigmatized, they are not able to walk into a physical facility to seek treatment. At the NDLEA's call center, you can always rest assured that your personality, everything you discuss with them will be absolutely protected. You're not going to be judged. You're not going to be stigmatized by anyone, because the entire process is teletherapy, is virtual, meaning that all you need to do is to dial our toll-free helpline, which is 0800 1020 3040. The toll-free helpline again is 0800 1020 3040. That's all you need to do. You're not paying a kobo. It's a toll-free helpline. And then you have our experts speak with you, engage with you, and walk you through the process of your recovery. And perhaps you need to check into a physical rehab facility. They would direct you to the nearest or the closest one to you and support you through the process of, through the period of your treatment and recovery, and walk you through your reintegration back into your family and the society. Again, I would also like to tell us that this service is language sensitive, meaning that if you cannot speak Pidgin or English, our experts will be able to speak with you on any of the three major Nigerian languages of Hausa, Yoruba, and Igbo. So please feel free and tell your neighbors, tell your friends, your colleagues who may be in need of this, that there is this platform, there is this service available. At the NDLEA, we will be available to speak with you and to support you any time of the day. It's a system, a platform that works 24/7, morning, afternoon, evening, night, any time of the day, of the night. You have our experts waiting to receive your call and to support you and walk you through your recovery. Now let's hit the conversation for today. But before we get to listen to him, let's formally introduce our guest speaker today. is no other person than Dr. Kehinde Oderinde, who is a consultant mental health physician and drug addiction specialist at the University of Benin Teaching Hospital, Benin City. Indeed, Dr. Oderinde is a senior consultant mental health physician, drug addiction specialist, and researcher with a profound passion for advancing the treatment of drug addiction and mental health disorders. Currently, he serves as a senior consultant psychiatrist at the University of Benin Teaching Hospital, Benin City. In addition to his clinical and research roles, Dr. Oderinde is a passionate advocate for mental health awareness and related issues. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Kehinde Oderinde as I invite him to unmute himself now while we listen to him speak to us for the next 20-30 minutes discussing our topic for today, which is drug addiction and mental health disorders, the significance of early detection and intervention. It's our pleasure to have you, Dr. Oderinde. Please go ahead. Dr. Oderinde is joining us on the handle of the Silent Hospital Limited. Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I hope am I audible?
You are very loud and clear.
Thank you, sir. Well, everyone, distinguished audience, ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to be here on this 162nd edition of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency weekly interactive forum on Twitter. I want to appreciate the organizers of this wonderful initiative, using platforms like this to educate and enlighten Nigerians and enlighten the global audience on issues that pertain to our collective mental and physical well-being. I must also thank the NDLA media team, ably led by Dr. Femi Babafemi, for the opportunity to speak on this topic. Well, the topic before us this afternoon is quite germane. We're looking at drug addiction and mental health disorders, the significance of early detection and intervention. Well, I must say that this is a topic that affects individuals, that affects families, that affects communities, and even religious institutions. And I want to commend the choice of this topic. The topic is apt, is timely, and profoundly relevant, knowing fully well that drug addiction and mental health problems are proverbial elephants in the room, affecting families silently, affecting individuals silently, affecting communities. So I'm going to speak in a very simple way so that we all live with some clear understanding and practical knowledge after the conversational discourse. In the course of this discourse, we have about 5 key objectives we hope to achieve together. First, we will define what drug addiction is, and second, we will describe what mental health disorders are. Third, we will explore the link, the nexus, the connection between mental health disorders and drug addiction. And fourth, we will look at the concept of early detection and why early detection matters. And finally, we look at some practical steps that can be put in place for effective intervention. Now, what is drug addiction? I believe this conversation is not meant for experts in the field of drug abuse or in the field of mental health alone. It is a conversation meant for everyone, everyone who desires a better Nigeria, desires a healthy Nigeria, desires a drug-free nation. Whether you are a parent nurturing a child, or whether you are a teacher shaping young minds, or whether you are a pastor or imam ministering to a group of people. So I believe this conversation is for everyone. So when we say drug addiction, what do we mean? Let me first say categorically, science has shown us that drug addiction is a medical condition. So it's not that the individual is bad or the individual is wicked or the individual is irresponsible. So drug addiction is a medical condition, is a health condition, just like someone who has diabetes or someone who has high blood pressure. And it is a chronic brain disease where an individual keeps using psychoactive substances that often affect how we think, how we feel, how we behave, how we see things. The individual keeps using psychoactive substances despite knowing the harm, the consequences. So I must say that drug addiction is not just a bad habit. It is not a lack of self-will or a lack of self-power or a lack of willpower. Anyone struggling with drug addiction needs help. Just like someone who is diabetic needs help. Someone who is hypertensive needs help. Even someone who has malaria needs help. So the same way, we must begin to see medical drug addiction as a medical condition. Oftentimes, I speak on drug addiction. I always say that anyone who uses psychoactive substance is not entirely well. The individual may appear physically healthy, but beneath that physical wellness, there is a silent emotional turmoil. There is a silent emotional struggle, some degree of instability going on in the mind. So anyone who is addicted to drug is not entirely well. The person is ill emotionally. And just as we take care of our physical body, such an individual also needs to be helped. So at this juncture, it's important that we address some common misconceptions and underlying truths about drug addiction. Some people believe that drug addiction only happens to bad people. That is far from the truth. Some believe that drug addiction happens to only wicked persons or stubborn individuals or irresponsible individuals. But this is far from truth. The truth is that anyone can be addicted, whether you are a professor, whether you are a doctor, whether you are a pastor, whether you are a mom, whether you are a student. It has no regard for intelligence or how strong you are. So regardless of strength, regardless of intelligence. So drug addiction does not discriminate. It can happen to anyone, especially if there are risk factors. Perhaps the individual is exposed to some stressful life events or some adverse life experiences, or perhaps there is a drug use in the family. And sometimes too, many people believe that drug addiction is a choice. I must say that it is not a choice. Perhaps when the individual starts, it may look like a choice, but continued use of substance over time begins to damage the brain, and over time makes the brain disease, and the individual now comes down with addiction, drug addiction. And sometimes some people wrongly believe that once an addict is always an addict. But the truth is that persons struggling with drug addiction or mental health problems can and do recover. We have seen persons, we have seen individuals who once at some point struggle with drug addiction or mental problem, but they over time recover. So recovery may be a lifelong process, but it is absolutely possible. And also some also believe, some hold the false impression that there is no hope for anyone who is addicted to hard drugs. But from clinical experience and from practice, we have seen persons, we have empirical evidence to support that there is always hope for persons who struggle with a drug addiction. Now, the next thing we want to look at is, okay, how does drug addiction
about some of the myths. You were trying to dismiss some of the myths, especially at the point where you talked about addiction is like malaria, like high blood pressure. That was the point we got disconnected.
Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you are loud and clear. Go ahead, please. Dr. Dorinde, can you hear us? Dele? Dr. Dorinde, you are muted. Please unmute yourself, Dr. Dorinde. I believe something is, let's work it out with Dr. Dorinde. He's obviously not hearing us, but then let's quickly, while we sort that out with him, let's quickly take this interlude to acknowledge some of our compatriots on the space already. Would like to appreciate Dr. Abdul Wahab Abdullahi. Dr. Abdul Wahab Abdullahi is a consultant psychiatrist at the Ahmadu Bello University Teaching Hospital, Zaria. Thank you very much, Dr. Abdullahi. Dr. Abdullahi, Mental Health Foundation. Thank you very much, there, Dr. Abdullahi. We also have, okay, Dr. Dorinde, can you hear us?
Good afternoon, everyone.
We can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, so I've muted myself. Sorry, I muted myself.
Dr. Dorinde, we can hear you. He's probably the only one not hearing us. Francis, you may have to let him know that we can hear him. Maybe he needs to exit and come back. All right, while we sort that out with Dr. Dorinde, let's see. Dr. Dorinde,
yeah, good afternoon.
We can hear you.
Am I audible?
You are loud and clear, please. He's not hearing.
Hello?
Francis, please liaise with him. He's not hearing us.
Am I audible? Can everyone hear me?
Everyone can hear you. You are the only one not hearing us, Dr. Dorinde. Okay, we might have to. Yeah, let him come back now. Let him request for the mic afresh, and then we can re-add him so that we can continue. Well, like I was saying, let's quickly take the interlude to appreciate and acknowledge all our compatriots. I have mentioned Dr. Wahab Abdullahi of the Ahmadu Bello University Teaching Hospital, Zaria. Thank you, Dr. Abdullahi. We also have Dr. Chiamaka Rose Nwaru. Dr. Chiamaka Rose was our guest speaker here last week, I believe, and she did excellently well. Thank you very much, Dr. Rose. Dr. Rose Chiamaka joins us from Abia State. Yeah. Yes, Dr. Dorinde, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, very good. We were hearing you before, but you weren't hearing us. So you can go ahead. Let's allow you to go ahead with your presentation. Thank you.
All right, sir. I don't know which one did you hear before the interruption?
Where we lost contact was the point where you were trying to dismiss some of the myths about drug addiction, and you talked about that addiction is just like any other treatment. I mean, any other ailment, people can recover from it. And then you mentioned malaria, hypertension. That was the point we lost touch.
All right. Thank you very kindly. Now, there are several misconceptions and false impressions about drug addiction. Some also wrongly believe that once an addict, always an addict. But the truth is that persons with drug addiction can and do recover. We have substantial empirical evidence to support that. Recovery may be a lifelong process, but recovery is absolutely possible. And some persons also sometimes hold the false impression that there's no hope for anyone struggling with drug addiction. But the truth is that when such individuals receive the right help, receive the strong support network and intervention. There's hope for such individuals. Now, how does drug addiction affect the brain? Now, drug addiction often changes the brain chemistry. It changes the brain structure, the brain function. There is a reward center in the brain. I'm not going to bore us with unnecessary medical jargon, but we must know this, that there is a reward center in the brain called nucleus accumbens. It's a reward center, and when someone takes psychoactive substances often overstimulate this brain's reward center. It's a pleasure system, and over time, the brain begins to rely on substance to feel good, such that activities such as spending time with loved ones, eating and other things will not look enjoyable to such individuals again. And drug addiction, or sometimes, not even sometimes, most times, weakens centers in the brain that regulates self-control and decision-making capacity. And this often make it very difficult for substance users to stop. They often make efforts to stop, but they just can't stop, of course, and they are aware of the adverse consequences. They are aware of the harm. Now, I want us to think of drug addiction like a fire. It's like if you start a fire and you can easily control it, but if you allow that fire to spread, the fire may consume a whole house. That is how addiction works. If someone starts using substance and intervention is not put in place on time, over time, addiction consumes the individual's life. It consumes the entire domains of his or her life. And that's another burning question, that why do people get addicted? There are several reasons why people get addicted to drugs. Not just one reason. It may be through peer pressure, or even sometimes when people experience some traumatic experiences, they use substances to cope and to have some psychological relief. And sometimes when people undergo some or experience some mental health problem like depression, anxiety, some use substances to cope with this psychological distress. And of course, there's also a place of genetic factors. If there's a family history, there's a history of substance use in the family, that itself also will make an individual to start using substances. So the people get it's a mixture of several factors: biological factors, life events, life experiences, environment. All of these come together and may make an individual to become to start using substances. And it's also important to also note that drug addiction does not just affect the person. Drug addiction does not just affect the individual. It affects families, it affects the caregivers, it affects friends, it affects communities. So if someone who is addicted to hard drugs is not the only one bearing the burden. The burden is being borne by families, church members, mosque members, and the community members. And drug addiction over time may cause physical health problems. For instance, someone who is addicted to alcohol may over time develop a liver disease, may have effect on the heart, developing congestive cardiac failure. And the drug addiction also sometimes also causes social problems, broken relationships, problems at work, at school, and economic problems too also, because the money that should be used for essential things, the person now using the resources on drugs. And many a time, drug addiction causes legal problems, which can lead to arrest and criminal records. Now, it's important to also note here that having talked about drug addiction, what are mental health disorders? what are mental disorders, we must first know that what is mental health. Mental health, it has to do with our ability to think, our ability to feel, our ability to behave, our ability to respond, our ability to cope with stressors. Because I understand that when people hear about mental disorders, what usually comes to their mind is someone who is dangerous, someone who is violent. But this is far from truth. And I must also say that mental health conditions are also medical conditions. Just like someone who is diabetic, someone who is hypertensive, is just that the illness is affecting the individual's mind. So mental health problems or mental disorders are conditions that affect our thinking, that affect our moods, that affect our behavior. And of course, the mental problems are increasingly common and often affect people of all ages and people of several social backgrounds. It's also important to say at this juncture that having mental disorder does not mean that someone is crazy. I need to say this loud and clear because this misconception is even held by people who are educated. So it's not just a misconception that lingers among the uneducated. Even the educated elites think that someone who has a mental disorder is crazy. It simply means the individual is struggling with how to think, how to behave, and how to feel. And having a mental disorder is not synonymous to madness. Because many a time when I see my patient in the hospital, when I ask them that, how do you feel, madam, or Mr. So-and-so, that you have to see a psychiatrist, I see their facial expression, they're not comfortable. And it's high time we began to pay attention to our mental health, just as we take care of our body. Our body will take care of our physical health. The same way, it's important that we also prioritize our mental health, ensure that our mind is healthy. As I said earlier, that individuals who use substances are not entirely well. And some people hold the wrong impression too that persons with mental problems are violent or are dangerous. But the fact is that persons with mental problems are more likely to be victims of harm. In fact, the most persons with mental problems are not violent, they are not dangerous, they are more likely to be hurt by others than to harm anyone. So persons with mental health problems are oftentimes victims of harm. And I must also say that mental disorder is not a weakness. It can happen to anyone. I often tell people that as long as you have a brain, everyone that has a brain is at risk of developing mental health problem. As long as you have emotions, you have brain, you have mind, everyone is at risk of developing mental health problem. So mental disorder is not a weakness. It's not a weakness. It can happen to anyone, regardless of strength, regardless of how intelligent you are, whether you are a strong man, whether you are a weak man, whether you are rich or whether you are poor, whether you are young, whether you are old. So we need to understand this fact. And another misconception that people often hold about mental health problem, people believe that once someone has mental health problem, that individual can never recover. But that is a fallacy. That is absolutely untrue. Persons with mental health problems, when they get the right help, right intervention, and enough so they can function well, they can actualize their life goals, they can become doctors, they can become professors, they can in life. And we often hear this misconception too, that people with mental illness cannot work or they cannot live a normal life. But the answer is no. The truth is that person with mental health problems can live a normal life, which I've seen many. Yes, people can live a normal. They can marry, they can function well, and actualize their life ambition. And there are several mental health problems, several mental health conditions. There are minor mental health problems. There are major mental health problems. I describe it as minor mental health problems. Such individuals sometimes will still be able to function intact, and most times such individuals still have what we call insight. Insight is a degree of understanding that an individual has about his illness. So persons with minor mental health problems like mild depression, moderate depression, adjustment disorder, mild anxiety, many a time their insight and their functioning are preserved. But there are persons with major mental health problems. In these cases, such persons, their insight, their understanding, their insight and their functioning are eroded. For instance, someone with schizophrenia or someone with bipolar disorder, they lose touch with the reality. Their reality testing is lost, and they may not be able to function well. Now, I know one of the questions that people usually ask, why do people come down with mental health problems? Why do mental health disorders happen to some people? But of course, there are just as we have several factors that can cause drug addiction. Same way with mental health problems, there are several factors: biological factors, social factors, psychological factors, issues with life experiences, life events, adverse traumatic experience. All of this can work together, culminate in the development of mental health problems. Now, at this juncture, I want to take a look at the link between drug addiction and mental health disorder. There is a strong nexus. There is a strong connection between drug addiction and mental health problems. In fact, in most cases, drug addiction and mental health problems often go hand in hand. They often occur together, where we describe such conditions as dual diagnosis or a form of comorbidity. And the question is why should they go together, or why do they go together? Some persons, when they are distressed, emotionally distressed, whether they are anxious or whether they are depressed, some individuals use substances to cope with their mental distress. And we know that over time, prolonged use of psychotic substances can trigger or can worsen mental health outcomes. And now, what do we mean by early detection? And that is where the onus is on us as parents, as educators, as community leaders, as guardians. Why is early detection important? Why does it matter? So when we say early detection, it simply means to identify the problem. To identify the problem, recognize the problem on time, spot the problem. Don't ignore it. Don't trivialize it. The individual using the substance may trivialize. He may just say, I'm just taking it because I want to pass exam, I want to feel calm, I want to feel like this. But as a parent, as a guardian, as a leader in any community, you don't trivialize a drug use behavior. So early detection means to detect the warning signs, spot the problem before the problem becomes worse. Notice the problem on time before the problem spirals out of control. And when we detect the signs early, it goes a long way to helping the individuals. Number one, it saves lives, because we know that substance users, if such persons are not helped on time, over time, they may begin to contemplate suicide. Some tragic outcomes may come in. So when we detect it on time, it saves lives. And again, early detection also improves outcomes, treatment outcomes, because the sooner a problem is identified, the easier it is for doctors to treat. For instance, if you have malaria and you treat it on time, you get well. But if you ignore the malaria symptoms, over time complication will set in and becomes a major problem. So there is power in early detection. And early detection also helps us to prevent long-term drug-related complications. It reduces the risk of developing severe major mental health problems. And at this point, we need to also enlighten ourselves with the warning signs. What are the warning signs? What are the alert signs? What are the danger signs that if we observe it in any of our loved ones, either a relative or a family member, what are the warning signs that should give us some impression that this individual needs to be held urgently? Number one is sudden changes in behavior. For instance, someone who you know that this person is usually calm and cooperative, all of a sudden the individual becomes unduly irritable, aggressive, and begins to challenge your authority. You observe some unusual audacity. It's important to intervene on time. So when you observe someone whose behavior, whose mood, personality suddenly changes, that may be a warning sign to watch out for. Or you just see an individual who suddenly loses interest. Losing interest in going to school, losing interest in going to work, losing interest in taking care of his family, or losing interest in doing productive activities. That is an alert sign. Or you just observe someone who suddenly withdraws from family friends, who suddenly withdraws all the time when other family members are seated in the sitting room, is somewhere there, either in one corner, just enjoying himself in the world of his own. So when you observe such sudden withdrawal from family members, friends, or you observe that the individual begins to have some decline in school performance, in work performance, or the person begins to neglect responsibilities or neglecting his personal care, they tell you that Mr. Counselor or Mr. Psychologist, we observe that this person, when he wakes up in the morning, he doesn't take his bath, he doesn't brush his teeth, begins to neglect his personal care and hygiene. And sometimes when you begin to observe some unusual spending in that individual, begin to spend in an unusual manner, that should also arouse our suspicion that this person may be on a journey that may not end well. And you're observing some secretive behavior, some unusual behavior, like maybe you see an individual with red eyes sometime, and the person frequently requesting for money. Maybe you are, as a parent, you send some money and to your ward, and within a week the money is finished. You begin to wonder. So if some individual begins to notice frequent requests for money by persons, that should spur us that we need to check on this individual. Or you observe some unusual sleep patterns or sudden weight changes. The person just begins to lose weight. And you also observe that maybe the individual begins to tell lies, because my experience with individuals struggling with drug users, they may conceal information, they may be very secretive. If you observe such behavior, the person who has been very truthful before, all of a sudden begins to tell lies, steal, and borrow money, and borrow, we have all these loan apps on the internet, begins to borrow money from here and there, and hiding to do a lot of things. Those are the warning signs that we need to watch. Therefore, there are many of them. But of course, I know this should suffice for now. Now, what is early intervention? What does it entail? Early intervention has to do with taking action promptly, taking action quickly, taking action swiftly. As a parent, as a guardian, you don't commonize the problem. You take action promptly. So when action is taken promptly, when you notice a sign, you take a proactive approach towards it. You don't wait until a crisis happens. So when we talk about early intervention as far as drug addiction and mental health problem is concerned, it has to do with the persons around the individual taking action on time. Because when intervention is taken on time, it helps the individuals and it saves the individual, saves the family, it reduces sufferings for the individual and the family at large. Just look like, for instance, if someone has a physical illness and refuses to pay attention to it, before you know it, other things will set in. Now, we must know that the earlier we intervene, the better the chance of recovery for such persons. Persons struggling with drug addiction and the mental health problem, the earlier we intervene, the earlier we institute intervention, the better the chance of their recovery. And in carrying out these interventions, there are certain things we are expected to do in a bid to help such individuals. Number one is when you see someone struggling with drug addiction or mental health problem, it's not the time to start blaming the person. It's not the time to start threatening the person. It's not the time to start using harsh words on the person. We must create a safe space, a comfortable space for the individual to express himself without judgment. So you talk to the person compassionately with empathy. You may have the person that I observed that lately you've not been yourself, your behavior seems to have changed. Can you talk to me about it? Or how have been your experiences? I can see that the way you look, there's some certain things seem to be going on. I observe that when you talk passionately, when we talk passionately to persons struggling with drug addiction, they will divulge more information to us. They will help us so that we can help them. And when you observe such signs, it's also important to encourage the person to seek a professional help, like psychologists, additional counselors, therapists, psychiatrists. And we may also need to teach the individual to embrace healthy coping strategies that will substitute for substance use. There are healthy coping strategies that individuals can use to cope with stress. There's a place of prayer, there's a place of faith, there's a place for sport, there's a place for exercise, there's a place for engagement in productive activities, there's a place for meditation. All of this can help individuals to surmount any psychological struggle. And I must also say that there is a need for a community action to fight the scourge of drug addiction. No one can fight this battle alone, this challenge, this drug addiction and mental health problem. And that's why I must also commend the NDLEA for the good job they are doing. We need to raise awareness. We need to raise more awareness about drug addiction in schools, in workplaces, even in churches and mosques. And between you and I, you don't need any medical training. You don't need to be a doctor to fight against drug abuse or drug addiction. The only thing we need is observation. We need observation, we need vigilance, we need understanding, we need to understand them, and we need to also show compassion to them. And there's a need to address stigma surrounding drug use and mental health problems, because one of the biggest barriers to receiving help is stigma. Many people feel ashamed to seek help. Many people feel they feel somehow to receive help. And from what we know that stigma silences people. Stigma makes people hide their pains. instead of asking for help. So there's a need for us to address the stigma. And we must remember that drug addiction and mental health disorders are medical conditions. Anyone struggling with either of these two is ill, is sick. And just like we often do when someone has a physical health problem, we pull out the person to see a doctor. The same way, the person with drug addiction or mental health problem needs to go and see a therapist on time, see a psychologist on time, see a psychiatrist on time if need be. And we must also know that drug addiction and mental problems are not moral failures. They are not character flaws. There are several interventions. Of course, the time may not permit me to highlight all of the intervention, but there are several interventions that have been found effective in managing persons with drug addiction and mental problems. One of the interventions is psychological intervention. I often prioritize that because sometimes persons with drug addiction may not really have florid mental symptoms. That all they need may be absolute psychological intervention, either in the area of motivational interview or motivational enhancement therapy. And there's also a place for pharmacological intervention where medications come in the event the individual has some substance-induced psychotic problems. As I conclude this conversational discourse, I would like us to take on these messages, 3 R's. Number 1, recognize the warning signs early. The second R, respond early. When you recognize it, respond early, take action. And the third R, refer early, so that we can reduce drug-related harm and promote a better mental health for all. Thank you, NDLA, for this opportunity. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
All right. Thank you very much, dear Dr. Kehinde Oderinde, consultant, mental health physician, and drug addiction specialist, University of Benin, Teaching Hospital, Benin City, Edo State. He's been speaking with us over the past 30 minutes. That's very loud and clear, and the points were well taken and understood. Thank you very much once again, Dr. Kehinde Oderinde. That's an excellent presentation there. Let's quickly acknowledge excuse me, some of our compatriots. I would like to appreciate all of the people joining us via our Facebook handle, that's at NDLA01, and also those who have joined our YouTube channel, that's at NDLA TV on YouTube. Thank you very much for being part of the conversation. And for those on X Space here, we'd like to appreciate once again Dr. Wahab Abdullahi, consultant psychiatrist at the Ahmadu Bello University Teaching Hospital, Zaria. We'd also like to appreciate Dr. Chiamaka Rose Waro, who was our guest speaker on this space last week. She did excellently well. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Chiamaka. We also have Diane Lawrence. Diane Lawrence has also been part of this space. Thank you very much. We have my colleagues there, Itohan, Ishioma, and I think I've seen Air Givers TV. Thank you very much, guys. We also have some of our senior members of the platform, Dr. James Komolafe. Thank you, Dr. James Komolafe. He's already ready to fire. Okay, we'll come to that. We have Don Gunyapsin. Thank you. Woni Wale Ganu Zeleribu, thank you very much for being part of the conversation again today. We also have my colleague there in Lagos, Rita Okwe. Thank you very much, Lady Rita. Saki for you. Another of my colleague in Lagos, Shidi Undukwe. Thank you very much, Shidi. That's at the airport command there. Isaiah Shimogu, thank you. Jim Funshaw Jimo, thank you. Prince Isaac, thank you. Efeosa, thank you. I think Umuaye Clifford, Victoria Uchechi, thank you. Regular The Kings, thank you. Ricky Wayne, thank you. Euphemia, thank you. Typing Guru 915, thank you. Christiana Dahiru, thank you. Jire Basic Academy, thank you. Oluwafemi Adeola, thank you. Abdulaziz, thank you. Queen Mother Batul, that's Her Majesty, thank you. We also have Femi Ladira, thank you. Deji, thank you. Hutch Oluwabi Awotiku, thank you. Rotimi, thank you. Let's take a pause there because our time is fast spent so that we can have as many contributions as we can take. All right, let's start from I think okay. Let's start from Dr. James and then we come to Victoria Uchechi. Dr. James Komalafe, please unmute yourself and let's hear from you.
Wow. Thank you so very much, everyone in the house. Thank you, Mr. Femi Babafemi. And wow, thumbs up for Dr. Derinde, especially for his 3R model. Kudos to you, Doctor. They recognize, respond, and refer is so apt. And what we have done at our own space in order to make it further simpler is to create what we call idea model, which is a similar thing to the 3R model we just had now. You need knowledge to be able to recognize. You also need some certain learning to respond, and that on a positive note, and then intimation to be able to refer to the individual, a therapist, a specialist, who can handle cases that you have discovered. In our own forum, we call it the idea model. I identify, just like he taught us. Everybody can identify, at least from what it used to be, from what it is now, from the individual under consideration. And to further simplify the letter I, which is the identification matrix, we've broken it down to 5W and 2H. So that even as a novice in mental health issues, adaptive behavioral issues, comorbidities, and all that we have learned, you can just ask yourself 5W, 2H. First W is what is it? Second, why will it behave this way? Third, when is it? What are the circumstances around? Hello, are you hearing me?
Loud and clear, Dr. James.
Yes, I can. Yes. I can hear you, sir.
And then the third, when? What are the circumstances under that environment? And then where? The ecosystem of the individual, the surrounding and all that. And then who is involved? Is he a friend, peer pressure? And then the 2H, how? How did he begin it and all that? And then the other H, what is the harvest thereof? So everybody, stakeholders, parents, whoever, your identification should be based on 5W and 2H. You can have quick response. And then when you are doing that, please ensure that you write down. It's a behavioral health violation when you keep all data in your brain because you have a smart brain, so that you don't so that you don't an attempt to solve a problem for somebody, you too, you are having some issues with yourself. So you must learn, we must learn as therapists, as specialists, to differentiate between our activities and our personality. If we emboss the two together, then we are going to have issues in the intermediate and in the long run. So that is identification. The letter D is definition. By the time you put all of these 5W and 2H together, you can begin to see some certain issues. Put 2 and 2 together to say, hey, this is certainly about this, about that. So that even when you are referring the cases, or the case in particular, you will have enough facts to be able to present, because half reporting at times could even be dangerous to diagnosis and therapy as well. So we can define, that is definition. From letter I, identification, D, definition, we will be able to do proper evaluation as specialists. You can evaluate. You can see the merit and the demerits of the case in particular, and then be able to know exactly which way to go about it. Am I going through CBT? Am I going through some other therapy? In this case, how many sessions will it take me? What further assessment will I run? What other test will I carry out and all that? And from there, you go to A, which is administration or application of solutions that you have so crafted out in those bits. So 3R idea model helps us a huge lot to be able to do early prevention where we can prevent, and where we cannot prevent, it will help us to do intervention without the relapses. And where we are having the relapses, which is even part of recovery management, we know how to manage things until we get the consequent result as we manage the client in person. So, sir, well done, sir. I just felt like adding this.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. Dr. James. I appreciate that very brilliant addition. Yes, I noted your points, and we are also going to incorporate that with our into our protocol here in Benin. Thank you very kindly.
All right, thank you, Dr. James Komolafe and Dr. Kehinde Oderinde. There is a cross-fertilization of idea there. That is what the whole of this is all about, all in the interest of humanity. Thank you very much, brilliant minds there. Okay, let's take the next contribution from Victoria Uchechi. Please go ahead, Madam Victoria.
Okay. Good day, everyone. Thank you very much, loud and clear.
Very loud and clear. Your voice is loud.
All right. Thank you, Sir Babafemi. Thank you, NDLA. Thank you, guest speaker, for this brilliant topic. Doc, please, I would love for you to clarify some things. To a certain percentage, I've learned that medical health disorder could be generic, but I don't know at what percentage that drug addiction can be generic. But if it's of a higher percentage, is there any occurrence that at so stage of an individual that is being diagnosed with drug addiction, like is there any age that we can say this individual can actually, I don't know, can start or that one can detect early detections of drug addiction, like the age, because some health issues, there are some ages that when you go to hospital, they tell so age, one can be diagnosed due to the generic effect or consequences. And then my second question is, you mentioned 2 intervention strategies. I don't know, among the 2 of them, is there one that is more effective, or 2 of them has to work hand in hand? Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Madam, for that insightful question. Well, your first question that drug addiction does does it have any genetic basis? If I got the question correctly, you said that usually medical disorders have some genetic basis. That does genetics also play a role in drug addiction? The answer is yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, yes. There is a strong genetic factor. For instance, in the family, there is a family history, a history of substances in the family. The likelihood that uh, anyone in the family may later come down with a drug addiction is high. And I must also say that the fact that someone has a genetic vulnerability to having mental health drug addiction, it doesn't mean that the individual must actually come down with mental illness or drug addiction. There are external factors, environmental factors too, that also play a role. If someone has the genetic vulnerability to have drug addiction or mental health problem, if the individual is not exposed to environmental factors that may now lead to the florid presentation of mental health symptoms or drug use, the person may not have the drug addiction or mental health problem. So as I said in my presentation, that the cause of drug addiction is multifactorial. There is a biological component, the genetic component, there's environmental component, there is a place for mental life experiences. All of these factors mingle together, all of these factors come together, and that may cause development of either drug addiction or mental health problem. But there is empirical evidence to support the fact that drug addiction has a genetic basis. Now, your second question about the two interventions. Well, the studies have not shown that one is superior to another. It depends on the presentation. So after the individual has been evaluated, if you assess the severity of addiction, there is a tool called the Addiction Severity Index that we often use to assess the severity of the addiction. There are some individuals whose addiction is not all that too severe, and such individuals may benefit from brief therapeutic intervention, may benefit from psychoeducational intervention, may benefit from psychological intervention. But individuals or persons whose addiction is severe may not just need psychological intervention, they may need medication assisted intervention. So I would say that there is no intervention that is superior to another, but I often advocate that both interventions go hand in hand. For instance, if someone with drug addiction does not have mental health problem, either psychotic symptoms or depressive symptoms, there's no need for pharmacological intervention. All the therapists need to do is to focus on the psychological management, ensure the individual has intensive psychological engagement, drug refusal skills, some motivational interview sessions, and all of that. But if the individual with drug addiction has a comorbid mental health problem, of course, the mental problem needs to be sorted out first. And that will be done with the use of medication. And it is when the individual is now mentally stable that such individual can now be engaged in meaningful psychological session. I hope my answer is clear to Madam.
Yes, Doc. Thank you, Doc. Thank you.
You are welcome. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much there, Dr. Derrida. And thank you, Victoria Ochechi, for your brilliant question that has opened some further insights into this whole conversation. All right, let me quickly also acknowledge some more people. After that, I'll invite the Kings to unmute himself and ask his question or make his contribution. But for now, let's appreciate Mohammed Waziri. Thank you for that's a great patriot there. We also have Olua Sheon Olatude. Thank you. Diallo. Thank you. Asma Ahmad, my officer there in Kaduna. Thank you. Asma Majid. Thank you. Ambassador Mariam Hassan, that is the founder and the executive director of Lespada. Thank you very much, Ambassador Mariam. We also have Tunde O, Mr. Ben Raptor, Dr. Sami Waziri, and Jazz Mighty. Thank you very much, everyone. Let's have that pause and then continue the conversation. Okay, the Kings, you want to ask a question or make a contribution? Otherwise, if you are not ready, I'll go take some questions.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Ednali, the host, co-host. I must commend you for doing this event. It's a very good one. I really appreciate. Please, quickly, I want to ask one simple question. Like, how do you know that this thing needs, as when it is, how do I know that this thing is severe and this person in particular needs an urgent help? Because sometimes you don't really know that this person is having problem. But just like the doctor mentioned earlier, when this person is demanding a lot of money and the person is becoming to machete. But I think sometimes somebody who demands money is either they need money to take care of some medical issues, maybe like you said, malaria or other things. But what about if this person in question doesn't want to open up? How do I know that, see, this thing is terrible now to an extent that I really need to come in? Because this whole thing now is becoming, like how do I know that this case is severe and it needs a medical attention when somebody is addicted to a substance? That is what I want to ask. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for that beautiful question. Yes. How do you and I, how can we know that this individual is struggling with severe addiction? Well, one thing to look at is the functioning of that person. Is it functioning? Let's take a look at, let's say individual is a student. For instance, if a student of a university and he starts with 100 level, he has several carryover, and he faced several examinations, and over time, he or she was asked to leave the university. Then the family comes around him again and says, okay, since you didn't do well in this university, let's go to another private university. I know persons or clients with drug problem who have been changing schools, changing universities. I've been to 3, 4, 5 universities. Now, I'm just using that as an example. That individual is not functioning well academically. Functioning doesn't mean that he has to get first class or second class. At least to be able to function, appreciably to a level that we can say, okay, you went to school, for instance, everyone who goes to school, whether university, you go out there to get a certificate and come out. But someone with drug addiction, let's say who's a student, may not be able to fulfill his academic roles or academic obligations. Now, that is just by the way. Or let's take a look at maybe someone who is a officer at work, who is addicted to alcohol. Now, you know that if that individual is failing to perform his role as a clerical staff at work, that the Oga begin to say, this file, you didn't put it where, all of that. So when an individual begins to fail in his role obligations, not able to function well, that is severe. Of course, there are persons who use hard drugs, who use cigarettes, who use alcohol, and they still function well. If the functioning is still intact, well, you may still not institute intervention. But as immediately the function of the person is eroded, not being able to function well as a husband, not able to function well as maybe if it's a doctor, not able to treat his patients well. Of course, we have health workers who also have addiction problem, and most times they send them to us for evaluation. And one of the complaints they do give that, okay, this nurse or this doctor will see that it's not treating his patients well. So when you begin to see that erosion in functioning, that addiction is severe. And you also ask about what if the person does not refuses to open up. I think it depends on the attitude or the way with which we engage that individuals. As professionals, there's a way you can get into someone's mind. If the person sees that you really feel for him, if the person you as a professional, the onus is on the professional to ensure that you make sure that the individual feels you, that you really empathize. You can easily, and that's where the healing begins. So oftentimes is the attitude. If the attitude of the professional is toxic, as I said earlier, that if you come in, maybe you are judgmental, or you begin to use one thing to compare another, you come with harsh words, toxic words. Person will not open up. But when he sees that empathy, when he feels that comfort, that compassion from you, many a time they will open up. I think my answer is clear.
All right, thank you very much, Dan.
That's very well. Your answer is very clear, sir. Thank you very much, sir. God bless you.
Yeah,
all right.
You too.
Thank you very much, Dr. Derrida. Thank you, the Kings, for your question and the intervention from Dr. Derrida. Let's quickly take this one from Babajide. Babajide is commending Dr. Derrida for his brilliant presentation and his explanations on this in this conversation. And then he wants to know that Dr. Derrida said early in your presentation, you said that it's not true that people addicted to drugs cannot recover. But later on, you also said early detection and intervention is necessary before the situation gets worse or complicated to a point of no return. How do we reconcile these two positions? I just want a clarity from Dr. Derrida. All right, thank you, Babajide. Dr. Derrida, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Dr. Babajide. Well, what I said that there is hope for persons struggling with drug addiction. Persons with drug addiction can and they do recover. They do recover. Now, the place of early detection and early intervention is for the good of the individual. The place of early detection and early intervention, that role is on us, you and I. So, because persons struggling with drug addiction, they don't often know the enormity of the problem. In fact, when they bring them to our facilities in University of Benin Teaching Hospital, they will tell the doctor that, doctor, is this my relative that is ill? Nothing is wrong with me. Now, that is them that are sick. Nothing is wrong with me. Now, the place of early intervention and early detection, that role is on us, of you and I. The individual does not know that he's ill. And I must reiterate it that the recovery is possible, is achievable. It may be a lifelong process, but is absolutely possible. Thank you.
All right, thank you there. Let's also take this one quickly from Moyo. Moyo is asking, I understood Dr. Derinde mentioned the triple R, while Dr. Komolafe also contributed with the I. Are there other tools or approaches professionals can use for early assessment of dual diagnosis, or are they limited to this, your these items you listed? Okay, I think that's a bit complicated. Okay, Dr. Deride, but you understood his question, right?
Yes, I do. Well,
Okay.
there are several approaches to assessing persons with drug problem or drug addiction. I mentioned 3 R's. Dr. James mentioned the idea model, but the ultimate goal is to achieve recovery for the individual. But in response to your question, that are there tools? There are several tools. There is audits, alcohol use disorder identification test to assess persons with alcohol use problem. There are instrument like a screening instrument like a cage, which is used to assess person with alcohol use problem. There is what we call assist. There are several tools. These are structured instruments that one can use to assess the enormity or the severity of a drug addiction. And but for assessing whether someone is mentally healthy or not, of course, that is is more clinical interview as a psychiatrist. I may not need to use a stethoscope to listen to the person's chest, but with interaction, because as a psychiatrist, our work is more of observational. You see the person's gesticulations, look at his facial affect, look at his response to questions, look at how he responds to questions. So with that, we call it more of a clinical examination. It's more of a clinical psychiatric interview. We put all those details together to know if the individual is struggling with a psychopathology or not. So there are several tools. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Dr. Derinde. Let's also take this one from Emmanuel. Emmanuel wants to know. Okay, he's saying Okay, I would like to know from our guest speaker, because in some situations, some people who are active users are also very active, and they cover their tracks so well in a way that family members and even colleagues will hardly know they are on substances. And while they keep this habit away from people that should bring them intervention, their situation degenerates until it gets bad. How do we, as friends, family members, discover these people that actually hide things so well that nobody can really know until the situation gets bad? Because we are talking about early intervention, early detection and intervention here. Thank you. All right, thank you, Emmanuel, there.
Yeah, all right, thank you, Emmanuel. Well, how to help such persons also begins with our compassionate posture towards that individual. For, as I said earlier, someone using substances, either using alcohol or using tobacco or using marijuana, they don't see that they are ill. They don't see themselves as ill. It's you and I that know that this is a health problem. That's why I said when I began the conversational discourse that drug addiction and mental health problems are medical conditions. So the way to help this person is to come in, if I call it don't come in a judgmental way. Don't come as if you have come to pass a verdict or a judgment on that person that this is what you are doing is an irresponsible behavior. No, as professionals, there's a way to portray that drug use to that individual. Let the individual know that if you are anxious or you are depressed and you often need to take cannabis, we feel that this is a medical illness. You may not have headache, you may not have physical symptoms, but you educate the individual, you educate the person to let the person see that this use or dependence on substance is a symptom of medical illness. Most times, when you come in that manner, drug users often agree that, okay, I feel, let me go for medical check. But if you come in a judgmental way, being critical and all of that maybe, if you even say that, oh, you know that you need to see a psychiatrist, in fact, that you will end, the person may not seek care. But come in a way and let the individual see that the use of substance is a symptom of medical illness, and it's needful for us to go and see a doctor. If you approach the person that way, most times they will agree. They will agree to see a doctor, or see a therapist, or see an addiction counselor. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much there. Let's quickly take Omar Mohammed Usman. Please unmute yourself. Let's take, we have barely 9 minutes. Quickly.
Thank you for having me. According to the question that I discussing about drug addiction, so actually I have experience in how to tackle it because I was not a user before I was able to do it. So it's hard to do it actually.
Please speak to your phone, Omar. We are not hearing you. You are not loud. Speak to your phone. Speak to your.
Are you with me?
Okay, better now.
Yeah, okay. That's all experience. I tell you, I was a user before, and I have experience how it's effective and how it can be tackled. So based on the reality of it now, the way people are addressing drug users, that's what frustrates the majority to use it more. But what, as a government regulator, NDLE, and there's some public NOA, national orientation agencies, they are the ones to create awareness how to first reduce the circulation of the drugs within the local community, because actually the local drugs are using in the local community, not in high community area of the community. So here in Switzerland, I live in the northeast. In the area of concentration where we are facing now, is called ICE. It's another drug called ICE. It's the one putting us in the society, is the one destroying our people in the society of drugs. So we are calling attention and the entire NDLE to know the regulation they will follow so that they will help us tackle this problem within our society, because we are youth, we are growing, and our generation is sinking because of this problem. Thank you for having me. I think the contribution I can do for now.
All right, thank you very much, Omar. You can mute yourself now. Dr. Redra, did you hear him? I'm not sure. I wasn't clear with his audio wasn't clear.
Well, I didn't hear him clearly, but I guess he made some contributions. Yes, not a question.
Okay,
he did ask a question.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Omar. We can always listen in again to your contribution. We appreciate your contribution there. Okay, let's take Prince, please, quickly. Prince Isaac, you are probably the last person who would take on this conversation today. Prince Isaac, please unmute yourself. Let's get your question or contribution.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Good evening, doctor. Thank you so much for this insightful section. I just want to get a clarification further to your discourse. Like, is it possible for normal stress, probably gotten from office, gotten from family-related issue, can it actually develop or transcend to um, what is called mental disorder issue, like somebody having a family issue or somebody having a work related issue or any other issue? Can it develop to a mental disorder issue? Is it possible?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam, for that insightful question. The answer is yes, but it may not necessarily lead to a major mental health problem. For instance, the example you cited, someone struggling with some family issues at work, they may sometimes develop a depression or have some anxiety symptoms. And I often advocate that there are better ways of managing our stress, either by relaxation or by engaging in prayers or meditation or exercise or doing some other productive activities. So, of course, issues at home or issues in the family at work may sometimes lead to some minor mental health problems. But if these mental health problems are not handled on time, it may progress to becoming severe. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much there. I think that will be where we'll close it for today. Let's ask Dr. Kehinde Odediro to give his closing remarks, and then we'll appreciate everyone. Please, Dr. Derrida, you can give your closing remarks now.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, Dr. Femi Babafemi. I'm not Odediro, I'm Oderinde, but no problem.
Oh, please, apologies. It's actually in front of me. I don't know where I got that. Odediro. Please, Dr. Odediro, please go ahead.
No problem, sir. So I must thank the NGLA once again for the great job they are doing, and say that drug addiction and mental health problems are not death sentences. With early detection and intervention, lives can be restored, families can be rebuilt, communities can be strengthened, and of course, can be rekindled. Thank you for having me.
All right, great, very great conversation. I must say, very awesome conversation there today. I would like to appreciate our guest speaker today once again, Dr. Kehinde Odediro. Thank you very much for the awesome job you've done today. Dr. Kehinde Odediro is a senior consultant mental health physician, drug addiction specialist, and researcher with a profound passion for advancing the treatment of drug addiction and mental health disorders. Currently, he serves as a senior consultant psychiatrist at the University of Benin Teaching Hospital, Benin City, Edo State. In addition to his clinical and research roles, Dr. Odediro is a passionate advocate for mental health awareness and related issues. Indeed, he had proven all of this in just within a space of 2 hours today. Brilliant presentation and excellent responses. Great insights there, Dr. Odediro. We appreciate you sincerely from the management and officers and men of the NDLA. We appreciate you. And on behalf of all our compatriots on this space, we also appreciate you for your time with us. It's been awesome. I would like to let everyone know that this doesn't end here. This conversation is recorded and available on all our handles. That's on X Space here, and as well as on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. You can always go back to it, listen and gain insights, and then even share with others so that we can continue to extend the scope of this conversation so as many people can get further information, knowledge that will save lives from all of these things we are sharing. This is all about humanity. It's all about saving lives. Once again, I would like to appreciate everyone that have been a part of this, that have contributed, those that have joined from across Nigeria, Africa, Europe, Asia, Middle East, and even the Americas. We appreciate all of you for spending the time with us. I also like to appreciate especially Dr. James Komolafe, Victoria Ochechi, Omar, the Kings, as well as the speaker, that's Prince Isaac, but I had a female voice there, where maybe Princess Isaac. Thank you very much for all that you people have done today. I also like to appreciate my colleagues who have worked with me behind the scene here, talking of Rita and Francis, Dele, Mahmoud, Philemon, Sicily, who else is there? Miriam, Victor, also in Lagos. Thank you guys. Kumbi, including those who are on leave. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for your contributions. Well, next week is another time. We'll be back with another topic. Please always come around, join us, and let's continue to push this conversation until it gets to every home and every ear, so that these things will continue to sink in the minds of our people. Again, today is Friday, as we often say. Thank God it's Friday, but then it's advice to you, please keep safe, avoid those things that could lead you into trouble, or those things that could give you momentary pleasure and eternal regrets. Please, let's try as much as possible to take it easy, take things cool, and avoid trouble. Until next week, when I come your way again, my name is Femi Babafemi, and I leave you in the hands of my colleague now to close the space formally. Mahmoud, over to you. Thank you.